Hey there, it's Jesse. I just want to send a quick video to break down a new property I've identified in Vernon Hills as what I think is an opportunity for somebody to get in, design a home to meet their needs, and not only have instant equity, but pay below rents in that marketplace. So, as you guys know, I specialize in these renovation loans, and I keep hearing over and over that there's no inventory, you can't find what you want, even though seasonality it's slowed down and there are more homes on the market than say the summer of 2021 and 2020. There's still not a lot of inventory out there. So the first reason I was hearing was I can't find anything. Then I was hearing home prices have moved up too much. And now I've heard rates are too high. So this video is going to show you a property I've identified as a good opportunity for these renovation loans. But then I'm also going to break down really how it stacks up against rents in the area and other homes. So let's take a deeper look. Okay, the property that I want to talk to you about today is 426 Cherry Valley Road, and this is located in Vernon Hills. So, as you can see, it's being advertised as an investor special, 3 bedroom, 1 bath with a bonus room and two car garage, being sold as is. Now, that to me just screams my renovation loans, right? So, we're at a 3 bedroom, 1 bath with just over 1,800 square feet, almost 1,850. Current list price is 220. Let's take a quick look at the photos. Nothing glaring from the outside, other than obviously maybe some design aesthetics we could work on. So from the inside, clearly a little dated, paint job, new carpet. Kitchen looks a little outdated. I'm sure you could use what you have in here, but most people, if they're going to live there, are going to want to update it, paint the ceiling, new light fixtures, things of that nature. Same here. Who knows the age of the furnace and HVAC system initially, but the appliances look newer. Um, Obviously, paint, same thing. New fixtures, new toiletries, things of that nature. Carpet paint. Not sure what's going on in the corner here, so that might be a little something that's mold or just something that got rubbed up or dust or what have you, but further inspection there. Carpet paint, doors, flooring, paint, maybe the roof, but nothing major, okay? So this one looks to be like a fairly cosmetic type of update. Okay, so now let's look at some of the comps in the area. Okay, now we're going to look at the comparables for the property as is in regards to just similar bedroom and bathroom counts. So currently on Redfin, and you can see here by my filters, I'm looking at 2 or 3 bedrooms with 1.5 plus baths, right? So our property, once again, is a 3 bedroom, 1 bath. So let's take a look at what's gone. Here's our subject property, 3 bed, 1 bath, almost 1,850 square feet. Obviously, this is a similar bedroom, but more baths, right? 2.5 versus one, and a bigger property. So not a good comparable. These are different, right? Different layouts, new construction, completely different. We'll get to that in a minute. Here we go. Now this is a 2-1 at 9,800. So it's 1 bedroom shy and 1,000 square feet less. So but what this is to me is a good comp because it's already $29,000 more and it's clearly a smaller property. Here's another one, 1.5 with about 540 square feet less, and it's short a bedroom, right? So these are going for much higher. Remember, our property is at 220, and these are going for higher, right? So here's over here on the map, the subject property, and these properties around it are all higher. Okay. So now let's get out a little further than Vernon Hills and see what's going on. Now, when you get into different areas, of course, appraisers would look at that differently, but I'm just trying to get a point of reference here, right? Here's a 3-1 smaller for another, $20,000 more. One less bedroom, smaller, once again, 320s. Here's an extra bed, another extra bath, but it's still, $100,000 more. 350, 420. I mean, these are all higher, right? So here's something that's smaller in square footage. So this might be another opportunity in Mundelein at a good price. But you guys get the point here, right? At 220, we've got an opportunity here to fix up the property and create some equity here. I'm estimating if you bought it for 220 and you put say 50,000 into it, you'd be at 270,000. You put in closing costs and some of the soft costs for the renovations, you'd be all in for this property at 285. And I think there's clearly enough comps to support a 285. Once again, this is smaller, much smaller. At 285, this might be our closest, but you still got a lot of room and equity if the appraiser came in low. But once again, this is short a bedroom and smaller out of the gate. So that's a quick check on comps that are listed for sale on the market in relationship to our property at 220. Okay, we just talked about what the homes that were currently on the market were priced for. Let's take a moment to look at what's sold recently, because obviously what's on the market is our indicator moving forward, but we have to take what's also sold into consideration too. So I'm really looking for that ranch style as my comp, and there's only two that I've identified. There's one right here at 290, and then there's one right here at 330. Now, there are other similar comps as far as a bedroom, bathroom count, and square footage that are nearby. But once again, these would be higher comps because they're just, two stories or just a different layout. So the first one, 290, 3 bedroom, 1 bath. Once again, this is smaller. Ours was 1850, but let's take a look at the condition of this property. Okay. And let's jump into the photos. So ours was a flat, if you remember, a flat face. It didn't have this little bump out for the garage, but we did have 2-car garage. Now the kitchen looks completely updated. Nothing crazy. I would not think these are regular shakers, right? But nice brushed nickel finishes, granite countertops, maybe quartz, can't tell. But room sizes are not large, right? They didn't do an open design or anything. They just used the existing walls. New carpet, paint, upgraded the bathrooms. Now this has got a stackable in the bathroom. Ours actually had a laundry room side by side, so I think what the other property has is better than a stackable. But they probably did that maybe to squeeze out an extra half bath or something. Carpet paint. And then, yeah, just that this would be a pretty light rehab, nothing crazy. Definitely would think you could get that done in a pretty reasonable number. Let's look at the other one here. So it's this one for 330. Let's check out the photos. Add a little bit of strip of brick exterior. Now, ours was a 2-car garage attached, right? They clearly have a detached situation here. Okay, they opened up the concept, new flooring. That's going to add value, right? Open concept, line of sight. New light fixtures, looks great. Nice subway tile. Same as what we had, right? A laundry room side by side with the HVAC system in the room. And then they did, who knows if that's real wood? Probably not. Probably some sort of floating laminate. Looks like wood. They look really good. Nice trim, updated baths. Just that open design, right? But now, since they did that, they're they're commanding a lot more, right? Instead of doing the cosmetic and getting 290, they get an extra $40,000 by doing that open concept. So those are our sold comps, which are supporting 290 and 330. Once again, with a $50,000 rehab, I'm putting us somewhere at an all-in cost of 280. So depending on what $50,000 gets you, can you get all the way with the open concept, or is it just an update? Either way, there's going to be a little bit of equity regardless of, how much how much it ends up 50,000 ends up getting you. So now let's take a look if we actually did a bigger project instead of a lighter cosmetic. What if you did a second floor addition? What kind of comps would that look like? Okay, what we're going to show you now is if we did a larger renovation, say somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000, right? And this would be not changing the design from a ranch to a two-story home. And so obviously this takes a little bit more vision to see what the end product would look like, because you can do a lot with that kind of money, right? So this is what's actively on the market. Remember, our property is somewhere in this area, so I'm going to look for comps that are on this side. I'm not saying that an appraiser won't look at these, but anytime you have a major expressway or you head, there's clearly something going on down here. It's a little bit different. And I don't claim to know Vernon Hills intimately here, but 1.2, 1.3, that's clearly different than what's happening over here in Indian Creek's area. So let's focus on these. Once again, list price as a ranch as is 220. So if we do a $200,000 rehab, you're at 420, and then you have closing costs and reserve contingencies and things of that nature. Let's put our all-in cost is 460, right? So my question is, are there comps to support 460? And without jumping into all the photos, I see a 470, a 550, and a 600. And right, so for someone who wants to do a bigger project and have a bigger home, obviously you would really want to jump into these pictures and understand what you would have to do to become comparable to these properties, right? I'm just looking for, are there properties that are on the market or have sold to support this bigger project? And out of the gate, my initial reaction is we've got some right here. Because if we're all in at 460, I see a 470, 550, and 600. So, and the filter that I had set was a 4-bedroom plus and a 2-bathroom plus, right? So if we're currently a 3-1, if you're putting a second floor on the property, clearly you're going to get to at least a 4-bedroom and a 2+ bath, right? So this is what's on the market. Let's jump over here and see what's sold. We'll do last 3 months, because once again, I like to do a shorter timeline, because if you close and then you got to rehab it, you don't want comps that are 6 months or a year longer, because by the time you're done with the property, a lot of time has passed. So we want to use the more recent comps. So once again, our property is over here in Indian Creek's area. This is what's sold in the last 3 months. I see a 485, a 610, and a 655. That tells me, once again, if we're all in cost on a $200,000 rehab, is getting in the neighborhood of 460. We've got 485, 610, and 655. So there are comps to support that. Now, before we know what your true instant equity position would be, we got to get some real numbers, right? This recon that we're doing up front is just to see if we've got comps to support a cosmetic rehab, which we do, or comps to support a bigger structural rehab, which we do. Now it just comes down to the individual person. Is this somebody who's got a smaller, maybe a smaller family or no family and going from a rent to a buy? Or is this somebody with a growing family and a bigger square footage need and they want to design a bigger home? So looks like we've got comps either way we go. So now let's break into some specific numbers. Okay, what I've got up now is rents in the area. I use the same zip code, and unfortunately, there's just not a lot to choose from, right? I got to zoom in a little bit. Once again, our property is like right over here. So I know as a realtor, having access to MLS, you probably can see more rent information. I'm on Zillow. I only see this one. Ours is a 3-1 with about 18, almost 1,900 square feet. So we're losing 2 baths, but we're picking up more square footage. So not exactly a comparable, but very similar. So that's important, because I'm going to now go into what our rent versus buy analysis is. So by going to this, I'm setting a baseline for somebody who would be a current renter, considering, should I buy or should I continue renting? Like, what does that analysis look like? So many pros and cons when you think about renting as it relates to buying, right? If you buy, you own the asset, it goes up in value over time. You can design the home or use it as you see fit, right? If you have pets, you don't have to worry about a landlord telling you can't have pets. If you want to have more people live, let's say you're taking care of a family member, you don't have to worry about running that by the landlord. Just gives you all that flexibility, right? And so, not to mention, once you buy a property and you get a mortgage on it, in most cases, a lot of people are doing the fixed mortgage, right? So you know what your payment's going to be for the foreseeable future. Yes, the ancillary costs go up over time, like insurance and taxes, but you don't have to worry about your landlord raising the rent on you every single year. So let's jump over into our analysis, the buy versus rent. So I took that 2650 right here. As you can see, I'll start at the top, right? I have the zip code. I have the purchase price, which I'm using 280 because this is assuming that you're picking it up for 220 as is and doing that $50,000 rehab. That number is 270. And then once again, $15,000 of additional costs, right? Let's say closing costs plus soft costs like reserve contingencies, things of that nature, put us somewhere in the neighborhood of around 285. Now you'll see 280 here because I factor in the extra $5,000 in closing costs at the bottom here. We'll get to that in a minute. So that's how we got to the 280 purchase plus your rehab plus the 10% reserve contingency gets to 280. Here's your rent, 265. Renter's insurance, you got to have that. And then average Lake County rents increases 3%. Here it breaks out the national average, which we're lower in Lake County at 3%. I put in the property address, 426 Cherry Valley Road. Once again, the 280 is including the renovation cost. Here are the property taxes from for the property currently. And then we're doing a 2% annual increase and then some just regular repairs that people would have to spend, right? There's not an HOA with the property, but just you want to factor in some maintenance costs because you own the property now, right? And then 6% when you want to sell it. These are some of the costs we'll factor in our analysis. And I did, for illustration purposes, I did an FHA mortgage, right? That's one of the lowest down payment options at 3.5%, most forgiving when it comes to credit or student loan balances and the higher debt ratio. So it's much easier to qualify for an FHA loan. That's why I'm using this one as our example. I did not price out the rate. I'm just using 7.5%. That's because I know we're somewhere in the sevens right now. So I just figured this must be a pretty conservative rate to use right now. Mortgage insurance, we have $191. The upfront mortgage insurance is 1.75%. So we're taking all this into consideration plus the $6,000 of closing costs. Now, home ownership, right? We're going to do our analysis based on 9 years of owning. That's going to be our true comparison. We're in Illinois, Lake County, and then we're using some historical data for appreciation over time, right? And then we're even going to factor in income taxes and things like that. So let's go to the real analysis. Heading up to the top here. So year one, buying versus renting. You will see that our costs are higher for buying, right? Your monthly carrying cost is higher. And that's where a lot of would-be first-time home buyers stop and say, oh my gosh, I don't want my payment to be higher. I need to keep renting because I can't afford a higher payment. And that's a very short-sighted way of looking at that because the monthly cash flow is just a small component. And actually, it's a component that you need to think about over time, not just in this immediate moment, which, as we talked about in the initial data, we're going to use 3% increase of rent annually, right? Which is still well below what the national average is. So year one, you're paying more, but look, if you fast forward to year 9, the rent would be 3401 versus your 2710. So, and this is the comparison, right? The black is buying, and then the blue here is renting. Well, after year 2, it already doesn't make sense to rent, let alone year 3, 4, 5. It gets drastically different. So cash flow would be your rent comparison versus buy, that carrying cost. It's $30,000, almost $30,200 better to buy the home in the first 9 years from a cash flow perspective, right? Now, there's two other things that are happening in your favor that a renter doesn't get, that a homeowner does get the benefit of, which is appreciation over time, right? What the home is worth over time. We're only using a 4.59%. We've seen well over that the last couple of years, but we want to put some conservative numbers out here. So if we started at 280, which is our total cost, purchase plus rehab, after 9 years, this home will be forecast to be just north of $418,000, right? So that's a huge, huge gain, even factoring in the cost to sell it, which who knows? I mean, you could be selling it much later than 9 years. But we're making it a rental and not selling it, right? But the 138, this is how most people gain real wealth, right? Is through that appreciation. Now, the one thing that's happening, which is kind of like a forced savings, if you think about it, is in that monthly payment, you're also paying down your mortgage, right? So you owe after 9 years almost $31,000 less on your mortgage because you've just paid to live somewhere, which you would be paying if you rented too. So the total benefit after 9 years of buying versus renting, even if you paid more in the first year, right, is $163,499. I mean, this is to me obviously is a no-brainer. It really highlights the fact that this makes a lot of sense. You lose money in that first year, you're breaking even roughly in year two, and then after that, it's high and to the right. Now, the one number that you're not seeing on here is that instant equity piece, and nobody can guesstimate that at this moment because I don't know how much your renovation costs are going to be, but we showed comparables whether you do a cosmetic rehab or a full structural rehab, but doing that second edition. But there was comps to support instant equity. So this 164, let's call it, could be an extra 5, 10, 15, $20,000 more because you added instant value by updating and remodeling the property. So that is the breakdown of the numbers. I know I went really deep. I'm happy to do this type of analysis on other properties if you're considering buying it. If you think this would help your potential home buyer or maybe renter that you're trying to show the benefits of home ownership, I'm happy to do that. Just reach out to me and let me know what property they're considering buying. Okay, we just took a few minutes to kind of digest that opportunity in Vernon Hills on 426 Cherry Valley Road. To me, this looks like a really good opportunity for somebody that's looking to buy in that Vernon Hills, Mundelein area. If you have a particular client that's interested in getting pre-approved for a renovation loan, please reach out. We can do that very quickly. Or if you have clients looking in other areas and you want to do this type of analysis on a property, I'm happy to do that as well. Hope you found value in this, and keep an eye out for the next one.